All right, so while we are on the subject of electric vehicles, we had mentioned some players out there in the automotive world not really doing anything in it. And we kind of picked on Toyota a little bit about where you been. You're borrowing platforms from Subaru, what are you doing, Toyota? And then now Subaru has just announced, Keith, did you know this? They have just announced and it teased its first electric car called, name the Solterra EV. How about that?
Yeah, so, you kind of have to, at this point, again, peer pressure being what it is in the automotive industry, you have to cast your hat in the ring. If you don't, you're almost considered, like you said, Jay, there's going to be such a change and a shift from the way cars were made in 2018 to the way they're going to be made in 2025.
Right.
You're going to lose a lot of credibility and legitimacy as a major player. And it's going to affect your sales. Whether or not you want to buy one of these things or not, you will be viewed as a dinosaur if you don't offer something. So, plus, Subaru has this kind of reputation for their environmental aspect, that they make a huge effort to stay environmentally conscious. Right. So, so they've entered the game. Like Jay said, it's going to be called the Solterra EV. It is coming to the United States, Canada, Europe, and Japan. It will be apparently a 2022 model year, so it's not that far off. It's been in the works for a while. They've just kept it under wraps. Right, but what I found interesting is, and this is something that we talked about, shared platforms, right? So we have the Toyota 86. This is basically the Subaru, right? Subaru BRZ. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, people scratch their heads, why is Toyota not building their own? You have platforms that are shared for the sole purpose of sharing technology and information to help one get along. And Toyota has, partnered with Subaru for a while now. But it turns out that this particular vehicle, the Solterra, is going to be built on on the shared platform, the e-TNGA or the e-TNGA, which I trademarked that, everybody. That's mine, e-TNGA. I love it.
But it's Toyota's all-electric total global platform for electric vehicles. And we recently talked about the BZ4X. Basically, this is probably going to be Subaru's version of the BZ4X. Mm-hmm. That's probably what this is going to be. And, they didn't release much information about it. But what we hear, based on what we did see, the images, it looks to be a little smaller than most of their SUVs, but on similar, like if you looked at the silhouette of it, it's kind of similar to some of their, what would you say, their Outbacks?
Yeah,
maybe?
it's a crossover style, and
right.
it's looks like a four-door with a hatch.
In true Subaru form. Here's what I expect from it, because Subaru they don't really come out and just blow you away with design. In my opinion, they seem to be a bit dated to me, and I don't expect that they will veer away from that. They seem to concentrate more on the vehicle reliability, the functionality of the vehicle, rather than how pretty do I look. Okay?
And another interesting parallel, Toyota, who there was a partnership there, and there has been for years. Very cautious, very measured approach to the electrification arena, entering that sort of world of EVs. Right. We've talked about this on our program many times, how Toyota was not the leader in that arena But we said, well, it maybe isn't because they don't have their act together. It may be the opposite of that. It may be they have their act together and they are hedging their bet on the next generation.
Yeah,
which
they're
is
holding
less, it relies less on the volatile battery platform like these first generation lithiums.
Right. And we've heard several CEOs in the industry, whether they are automotive component suppliers or CEOs of automotive manufacturers, basically say, no, we're not going there now because we're not buying into that technology just yet as a fully carbon neutral product. But I also feel too, like you just said, it makes sense for someone to step back and wait for that technology to grow a little bit further. And how technology grows in exponentially in this day and time, which I think Keith and I have also said that we believe that we are in a new industrial age at this moment, and it revolves around the electric vehicle, electrification of vehicles. That if you act too quickly and get in there and start, putting all your money on one piece of technology, before you know it, that piece of technology is obsolete before it even gets to the market because somebody has come up with a better plan. So Toyota can fill the gap. Subaru can fill that gap of vehicles until something comes along that's more appealing to their platform and probably more cost effective for them rather than being the developer of a specific technology. They're just going to use a technology. That happens. That happens with the chips that we are having shortages on right now.
And just think about this. I mean, just from the automotive perspective, I mean, if you go back to, for example, the Ford Model T, which, let's see, what year did that premiere?
Oh, God, that was like
1908.
It was 08? Okay. I was thinking it was somewhere
around there. I remember talking with my grandmother about stories of, who had cars and what those cars looked like, and then when did she get her first car, or her family get their first car, and what was it like? So my point is this. The amount of change between that Model T and then what was in production 15 years later, you're probably going to see that same amount of change in the Generation 1 EVs that companies like Ford and GM and Subaru are releasing. And then 5 to 7 years from now, the next generation. Right. I mean, it's going to be significant.
It will be. And half that battle is the charging infrastructure. Once they crack that nut, the charging infrastructure, then they can focus on, range. Then range, where they're already focused on range. But my point is that more and more people, the more electric vehicles you have on the road, the more capital these manufacturers have to work with to go and develop new types of charging capabilities or types of batteries, solid state. We've talked about that on prior podcasts. This is you have to go there, but it has to start somewhere. And I think that the bigger picture is the infrastructure of charging. And once we crack that nut, then I think it really blows up, man.
Yeah.
It goes nuts, haywire.
Yeah. My personal feeling on this is that hybrids are going to be the wave of the future. I know that's old technology from a jargon. Hybrid vehicles came out years ago, decades ago. But my point is, if you think about what like Chuck Lynch would tell us from a military application, where you always have to have a vehicle that has multiple fuel options.
Correct. Yes.
That relying just on batteries and a charging network, although it may be great most of the time, if you don't force yourself to basically be a captive audience to that, if you have a way to, I'm in the middle of Yellowstone National Park and there isn't a charging station. But I can run on hydrogen for the next 100 miles or whatever.
Right.
You're fine. Right. Like I really do think that's where the big win happens in terms of the next turning point. Yeah,
I agree with that. And back to, hybrid vehicles that allow you to do that get you, that's even better. Look at what Nissan has been working on. They're,
right.
A really thermal efficient engine.
Right. There you go.
And the concentration of that, and the engine not specifically used to drive as a form of propulsion for the vehicle, but basically to recharge those batteries. And there's good technology out there that I believe you're correct that you'll see, an internal combustion engine being used more frequently than not in that manner until we get there. I think so. It's a stepping stone. Each form of technology, as it grows and it gets better, we said it. The EVs, as we know right now, in 10 years, they're going to be completely different than what we know now. Completely different. So, and how are they going to find out about it, Keith, when that stuff happens?
Yeah, if you want to be in the know, a couple ways you can do that, because although we do talk about a lot of things on this show, we do heavily focus on automotive related articles, news releases.
Yeah.
You can do a couple things. You can go to our website, partscounterguru.com. Check out the podcast tab there at the top leftish area. Click on that. You find links to all your favorite podcast platforms. You can find our show there. Make sure you do that before our 100th podcast episode comes up, which is right around the corner. We've only got a few to go. You can also go over, if you are not watching this video on YouTube, you can go over to YouTube right now, youtube.com/partscountergurus. And is it / or backslash? It's /.
It's /.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You will see our little welcome video there, and you can hit the subscribe button and ring the bell and get notified that way. If you like social media, we put stuff out there frequently. Let's see, facebook.com/partscountergurus. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Man,
this is so weird, man. I feel like I'm driving a UFO. Instagram.com/thepartscountergurus and Twitter. It's twitter.com. Twitter, our hashtag is @thecountershow. All one word.
That's it, man.
No spaces.
Great job, dude. You yes. See?